Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Another day, another project. A couple days after I got the fuel tank done for the Oldsmobile, and I'm going to start working on this 35 Packard Bumperette and the repairs on it. So what I've done is I made a little metal pattern, or a little paper pattern of what I needed for the repair. I have to make a mirror image of this on this side. It's going to take quite a bit of work just to make a buck to do it, as well as it's fairly thick material. I think it's about 16 gauge, might even be 14 gauge. So I cut a little piece. I'll just show you. Off of my paper pattern, put some center marks on it. There's going to be a considerable amount of shrinking and stretching. You get into this corner here, it's going to be stretching, this one will be shrinking, and this is all shrunk here. So what I did, I took a piece of 1 inch thick by 2 inch bar stock. I ground it to the radiuses of the bumperette. Then I heated the crap out of it and put it in my press and put this radius in, which is the same as what this piece has. So next thing I have to do is, because this piece will go something like that, I have to weld some wings on here to give me this shape. So that's going to take me probably most of the day just to get these welded on and ground to shape, and then I can put my piece of steel on and start beating the crap out of it. So we'll be back here. Okay guys, so I've got the buck roughed in. I'm going to try a test piece. As you can see, it's got the curve. I've rounded over all of the edges. I'm going to take a blank that I cut out, and I'm going to see if I can hammer it to shape and see how accurate it is. So we'll be back here shortly. So I got the hammering process started here. This is such heavy steel, I've had to use my propane oxygen torch to heat the steel up to get it to be able to bend for me tight enough in all of these bends that are required. Now, I've left the piece considerably longer than it has to be, and the longer this is, the harder it is to gather up the steel when you get further out from it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and trim this real quick so that I'm not trying to shrink as much. The one thing that they must have thought of when they were doing the first one was, when you're pulling this steel down here, this portion has to stretch. When you're pulling this down, it has to shrink. So by pulling this down, it caused a great big wrinkle here. And then when I hammered this in, it took some of this steel back over here, which actually helped me a bit. So I'm going to do a little trim, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do some more hammer forming on this. Okay, so I've got it pretty much rough to shape. As you can see, it looks fairly symmetrical. I'm going to have to put a little bit of dish in the center here to bring it out. It's still really hot, so I can't pick it up. I've got to trim it to fit. This area here is a little bit too long. I'll have to trim it. I wanted to leave it long. And then I have to do all of this trimming here to match this shape. That's probably going to help me with finishing the shaping on the end here. This has to come down a little bit straighter, so I've got to do quite a bit more shrinking right in the corners here to get this to come down a little bit. Other than that, it's looking pretty good as far as the curve is concerned. So I'm going to keep bashing away on it here. Okay, so what I've done here is I had to reshape my buck a little bit, and I took the bottom edge down at a bit of an angle because the original Bumperette, as you can see, it is level on the top side, and the way my buck was, it was coming up at an angle. So now what I have to do is I have to gather up. When I try and beat this down past 90 degrees, it's going to have too much material on the corners here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat it, and I'm going to gather these corners up. This steel will get thicker in the two corners and allow this to come in. So I've got the Bumperette tacked back onto the buck, and I'm just going to start beating on it here. Okay, I'm not sure if I can get you in here close enough, but what I'm doing is I'm just heating this corner. You can see this gap across, and I'm going to start tapping this corner down, and it'll gather the steel up and shrink it. You'll see it'll start to close that gap up for me. You want to start on the outside edges and not in the center, otherwise you'll put a big pucker on the outside and it's really tough to get it out. You just slowly work back and forth. You can see it's coming down tight onto the buck now. It's a matter of just taking your time and really watching you don't get a wrinkle in it. I'll just finesse this a little bit more, and it should be ready to come off the buck. Okay, I'll just shut the torch off here, bring you in and show you how nice and tight it is now. Get some light coming in there, and if I go around the front side or the side here, now you can see it's coming down at a 90-degree angle to this face, which is exactly what I wanted. Okay, so one of the hardest things I've had trouble figuring out what to do on this whole project is it has these areas that are depressed, and it's been done on a very large press. The only thing I have to do is complete the bottom half of this circle here. So what I've done, I've got it marked out on my new piece, and on the back I've done a radius that is exactly the same size as this, and I've got a washer that's the right size. What I'm going to do, I'm going to put this in my press. I'm going to put the washer on the top side, right on the line here. And I'm going to press this down, and hopefully it puts that depression in for me. So wish me luck, guys. So guys, I'm really happy with how that turned out. As you can see, the depression went in really nice and crisp. Look from the top side with my tin piece backer on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the edges all fit here. Get this piece tack welded together. This center raised portion here, I believe I'm just going to do it with TIG weld. I'm going to build it up and then grind it smooth. There's no other way I can see to do it. So I'm going to start tack welding and see how things work out here. Okay guys, we got the repair piece welded on. I still got some build up to do around that center raised area, and a whole bunch of grinding, sanding, filing to get this thing smooth and ready to fit on the car and go for chroming. So once I get started getting it all cleaned up here, I'll bring you back. Okay guys, back again. I've got everything is finished welded now. What I had to do was get my seam welded all the way across, top and bottom. And then this center circle, I had to build it up so that I could grind it back down to the same shape as the one that's here. And I just wanted to pass along a little tip I got from Carl Fisher over at Make It Custom. When you're doing fine welds like this with the TIG, if you use some 035 or 045 MIG wire to cut off a piece, it gives you a real nice fine filler so you don't end up with too much of it. So now I have a whole bunch of sanding and grinding to do here to get the final fitment on this, and we can see how that goes. Okay guys, we're back again. I'm about 99% of the way there. I've used die grinders and angle grinders and Dremel tools and all kinds of different sanding discs. I've got everything pretty much shaped. I've got one little low spot right here that I can feel pretty bad with my finger. I got to weld it up, and one more final sand and it should be good to go. This is the other original one, all in one piece, and I think they're pretty close if you take a look at them. So I'm just gonna weld up this last divot and sand it down, and this one should be done. Okay guys, there's another project in the books, ready to go. I'll be delivering that part this afternoon and moving on to the next project, which at this particular point in time I don't know what it is. I'm hoping maybe a little bit of kart content coming up next week, heading up to Taillight Tuesdays in Swift Current. There's going to be quite a few cars, usually around 100 at the casino there. So hopefully I can take some video and show you that. So thanks for tuning in guys. Take care, catch you next time.